So our next speaker is Helene Thorstensen from Salt Lofoten, who will be talking about area needs and coexistence of the Norwegian fishing industry. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello? Is it? Yeah. Yeah, nice to be here. Thank you for having me. My name is Helene Thorstensen. I work at Salt Lofoten, which is a private research and consulting company. We are present all along the coast. Our main office is in Svolvær, but I work in Båtsfjord up north, which in my personal opinion is the place to be if you do fisheries science. And today I'm here to talk about area needs and coexistence in Norwegian fisheries. This presentation is based on a project that we in SALT have carried out on increasing the knowledge about area usage and need in the Norwegian seafood industry today and also in the future. The background for this, as you might have guessed, is the large interest in using Norwegian sea areas for new economic activities. In Norway, we have a fisheries industry with long traditions. And this industry has for a long time had access to large parts of the sea areas. Now, when we have new industries with needs of large area use at sea, fisheries might lose important areas. And as a result of this, it is important to document the current area use, as well as trying to describe what the needs might be in the future. So, a central question in this project can be summed up by asking whether there is free space at sea. And in order to address this question, we need to know what areas are already in use and what areas might be used in the future. But it is also important to know exactly how the areas are used. We've looked into this using quantitative data based on landing notes, among other things. By analyzing landing note data registered on harvest areas, as shown here, we've made a thorough description of area usage of the fisheries after 30 commercially important species in the years 2011 to 2021. We've also looked into area used by vessel and gear type, but I'm not going to comment on that right now. We focused on the Norwegian exclusive economic zone, resulting in these harvest areas being included in the analysis. And we've presented them in the main areas that you can see here. These are the species that we have included. The selection is based on catch size and also commercial value. And I'm just going to show you a few an overview of a few results. These figures show the distribution of catch in the 20 main areas in the years 2011 to 2021. I'm not going to go into much detail, but I wanted to show a few examples from areas with different patterns. So as you can see, Egersundbanken and Vest-Finnmark are areas which have seen an increase in general catch size in this time period, while Helgelandsbanken and Storega-Frøyabanken has seen a decrease. And looking closer into the data, we can also see which species drive the trends. For example, we see that catch of Norwegian spring spawning herring drives or explains most of the doubling of total catch in Vest-Finnmark, and also the large decrease in Helgelandsbanken and Storega-Frøyabanken. There are a lot more results like this in our report, providing a lot of information on current and historical trends in fisheries. And this is an example of how area use can be studied using, for example, tracking data, landing notes, and population trends. However, what we cannot see from figures and maps is how exactly the different fisheries use the sea areas and how they coexist with each other and with other users of the sea. When mapping area use at sea, it is also important to include the knowledge that is not collected from trackers and registrations. Because maps of fisheries activities and natural qualities give an overview of the area needs of the industry, but they have low resolution and they do not tell the whole story. Therefore, it's important to also include knowledge from actual users of the sea. And the fishers, they are the traditional users of the sea areas. Therefore, we've talked to a selection of fisheries representing different gear types and vessel types along the coast of Norway. They've told us a lot about the area needs of fisheries with different gears while searching for fish, during active fishing, and during transportation. And in addition, they have explained their opinions on current coexistence at sea in Norway. The Norwegian fisheries are varied, and thus the area needs of the fleet are also varied. Through conversations with the fishers, we have aimed to describe the area needs of different groups of fishing vessels and focused on knowledge that is not captured in the quantitative data. And I thought we could use information from fisheries in seine fishing as an example here. After locating the fish, the seine is released, and this takes about 4 minutes. And then getting it back up on deck takes about 1.5 hours. And during this process, the vessel is not very maneuverable. It can drift up to 2 to 3 nautical miles. And at the time, the vessel itself, as well as the gear, have to avoid drifting into fixed installations. Thus, the area need of the fishery is considerably larger than the size of the gear itself. For example, according to regulations, a safety distance of 500 meters to fixed installation is required. And to achieve this, the fisheries report that they have to employ a practical distance of 5,000 to 6,000 meters. And this just goes to show how tracking and registration data alone is not sufficient to describe the area need and usage at sea. So, the large variation in the fisheries also sets requirement to cooperation and coexistence at sea, both within the fisheries and between fisheries and other industries. There has been done quite a lot of research on coexistence at sea in Norway, and previously coexistence within the fisheries has been described mainly as good. And our conversations show that the fishers today, to a large degree, agree with this. In the relationship with different vessel types and gear types, there can be overlapping needs and interests. This can give challenges, but fishers from all groups explain that a lot can be solved with good knowledge and understanding for each other's methods and needs. So they all say that if everyone else knew my needs, then everything would be good. There are a few direct conflicts in the fisheries, and this is explained as being due to... there are few conflicts, and this is explained as being due to good cooperation and understanding, and large willingness to follow the rules. And specifically, Barents Watch is mentioned by all the fishers we talk to as a very good and well-functioning tool. So they all say everyone should understand me and my needs better, but in general, things are good. Still, there are reports of challenges in specific areas, seasons, and in the relationship between specific vessel and gear types. A few topics, such as division of areas between vessel and gear types, are described as more difficult to discuss and as touchy subjects. It is pointed out by representatives for almost all groups that better understanding for each other's needs would lead to better coexistence again. This was repeated a lot. And that not much is needed to understand each other better. Fisheries explain their challenges related to area needs to a large degree is connected to other existing or new industries and not to other parts of the fisheries. The traditional fishing areas are also areas that in many cases are interesting for establishing new industries. Traditional fishing grounds are often located in relatively shallow areas and are characterized by good water flow, bottom and current conditions. One or more of these properties, which is what makes them good fishing grounds, also make them good areas for other activities. The oil industry is the industry with the longest shared history with the fisheries. The production itself and the installations are in general not a big issue for the fisheries as it stands today. They take up some areas that have been made inaccessible for the fisheries, but as long as this has been the only industry with fixed installations at sea, it's been possible to adapt. It's also pointed out that pretty much all the active fisheries today, for as long as they have been active, there has also been petroleum installations in the North Sea. So it's been a long relationship. The area use of the petroleum industry is still highlighted as an example of the problems fishery will face if more activities will require area with fixed installation on important areas for the fishery in the future, and also with focus on the tempo of the current development. Seismic activity is the activity in the petroleum industry which creates the most problems for the fisheries today. This is highlighted by all the fishers we talk to, except those fishing only very close to the coast. Unpredictability and poor interactions with the industry is described as the largest challenges. Many coastal fishers describe losing good fishing grounds to aquaculture facilities in increasing tempo as the facilities have been growing in size. With growth in the aquaculture industries, the facilities have required larger areas, and facilities have to an increasing degree been placed close to fishing grounds. There is fear that this will happen at sea as well, as facilities are placed further and further out from the coast. Finally, and maybe most of all, there are corresponding worries for establishment of offshore wind farms. Many of the best traditional fishing grounds are, as I mentioned, on shallow banks, which are typical gathering places for fish. But these are also the most accessible areas for establishing offshore wind farms. The fishers we talked to agree that establishing of such facilities will be very negative for the fisheries and will require large areas which they are totally dependent on. When asked about what is the largest worry for the future of the industry, offshore wind farms are mentioned by all the fishers that we talked to. As the wind farms likely will be placed in the most shallow waters, coastal fishers will probably see the largest consequences of this activity. Still, all the groups that we have talked to are worried about this issue. And specifically, the North Sea is the area of the highest worry. This is a small sea area with little total available area. There are already many installations from petroleum activity, and with wind farm development, it is worth considering the total load of area usage and worries about how the needs of the fisheries will be handled there. Finally, many of our informants mention deep sea mining as a future worry. Area needs are mentioned, but most of all, effects on the basis of fishery itself, the fish and the ecosystem, are a big worry. This is also a big worry with almost all the fisheries that we talk to. We also tried to look into what could be solutions. And a large part of the solutions to the problems I mentioned here can be summed up as good mapping, good knowledge, and good communication. Our results are summed up in these 3 reports, one on fisheries, one on aquaculture, and one on future knowledge needs. I linked them here. They are all in Norwegian with an English summary. So I have, can let it stay there for a second, maybe. We've also made digital maps. They're not yet published, so they're only available for people that are competent in GIS and by request, but I hope we'll get them published. Yeah, thank you. This is my contact information if you have further questions or comments. And I also included the contact information of my colleague Tale, who has been the project leader.
Thank you, Helene. Thank you. I see we are on the red numbers on the screens. We don't have any time for questions this now, but Helene is here, so ask her any questions, or if you have the QR code, you can scan to read reports and the contact information that was given.